There are certain risks that absolutely do carry. Guillain-Barré syndrome, for example, has been linked to certain types of vaccine. So the typical way this is done is not by forcing a government official to come to your house or calling your kid a truant if you don't get the vaccination. The typical way that this is done is saying you can't attend a public school unless you get the vaccination, which makes a certain amount of sense. You don't want to expose the general public to the transmission of a disease. I would be opposed to the idea that the government is going to forcibly enter your home and give your child a shot against your will. It seems a different thing to me to use the incentive structure of you shouldn't be able to be in public with a bunch of other children in order to get parents to vaccinate their children.
Yeah, and I would say I have a lot to push back on that, but I know that we can't take the entire segment. What I will say, one, is that I don't even think that even if those cell lines, and they're not, I mean, you can do the research. There's Wallvax. These are fetuses that have been researched on and used in vaccines as recent as 2015. So this is ongoing. Also, I would say that with the herd immunity argument, and again, we're getting into the medical thing here, but with the herd immunity argument, I'm 38 years old. When I was a kid, I received about 9 or 10 vaccines total. I have not been vaccinated since I was 12. Nobody views me as a threat to the population, but they would view my 5-year-old child who's unvaccinated as a threat to the population. That to me seems silly. So herd immunity to me is based on a myth that it's this 95 or 98% threshold that you need to achieve it. We don't have that. We don't even have close to that. And yet we haven't had ridiculous amounts of outbreaks, of these diseases that we've, been taught to fear so much. There are a lot of people like me who are walking around who would be actually considered unvaccinated by today's standards. And yet, no one's afraid of me as a 38-year-old woman. So it's funny to me how, I'm out in public. I do all sorts of stuff like that. So
yeah, it is. I will say, Kimberly, like, for the record, schools are germ factories. I mean, if you have children, you do know that your kids are going to be sick like 80% of the time. And so the possibility that you're transmitting disease at age 38 is significantly less than the possibility that your kids are transmitting any sort of virus. I mean, if some kid in your school gets a cold, every kid in the school will get a cold. I mean, this is just from personal experience and data, right? I mean, and this is true for lice. I mean, it's